What's up, guys? It's your boy APFC back again with another video. Today I am discussing Mikel Arteta and Nicolas Pepe. I was just going through Facebook then, and a headline popped up that was something along the lines of Arteta backs Pepe. We need to have the right structure. For me, Arteta identifying that about Nicolas Pepe and the way that the team's structured to sort of get the best out of him is a positive sign that Arteta has identified that, and I will explain that why that is in this video. And I'm also going to go and analyze what Arteta has said about Nicolas Pepe I think this may have been in the pre-match press conference. So let's have a look here. Just got the article in front of me, guys. I initially saw it on Arsblog, but this is on the Standard. Let's have a look. So I think Arteta was just asked something along the lines of the form of Nicolas Pepe, and this is what he says. He says, I hope we can see it from now to the end of the season, in respects to he hopes he can see the best form out of him. Then he also said, but if you go through the list of the top players that have come to this country and how disappointing they were for the first 10 to 12 months, then how incredible they were for the next 5 years. I think we could have a massive list here. Exactly right. Exactly. There has been so many players that have come into Arsenal, but also other sides that have taken ages to adjust. Per Mertesacker, his first season at Arsenal, or first 10 months or something along those lines, he was trash. He came in, although I wasn't the biggest fan of Mertesacker at the best of times, there was a period where he was a very reliable and solid centre-back for us. He came in after those 10 months and he was much, much better and became a key figure in our team. There's so many strikers that have come to the Premier League and it takes ages to adapt. I'm just trying to think of some certain players. The one that came to mind, obviously, was Per Mertesacker for Arsenal. But I even think Eden Hazard, when he came in from Chelsea, he struggled to adapt. Hyung Sung Min as well. The first 10 months, was not scoring many goals, even in 2 years. On the first 2 years, he wasn't the player that he is now. There's been so many different players in different leagues that have come in. Because the Premier League is such a unique league, it's not easy for a lot of these players just to slot in and start playing their natural football that ultimately earned them to the move in the Premier League in the first place. And I agree 100% with him here. I got a bit sidetracked there, but I'll keep going through the interview. He said it's not easy to adapt to this league, but he's putting in the effort and he's willing to do it, and it will come out. That sort of quashes the rumours that Nicolas Pepe has a bad attitude. I read something a couple of weeks ago that apparently his attitude's not great among the Arsenal dressing room and whatnot, but doesn't seem to be the case, as Arteta has just confirmed. Arteta also admitted that it could be a factor in respects to his price tag of why he's not performing to that level. He talks about how the price that we paid for him puts him in a difficult position straight away, because he's going to be compared to players of that caliber. And let's be real, if you want to get players into the Premier League, or if you're a Premier League club, you are always going to be overpaying for players, because the Premier League has the most money in Europe in respects to all the top five leagues and whatnot. And all the other foreign clubs know this, and they try to milk teams of every last cent that they fucking possibly could do with Premier League clubs. So I'll keep going with the article. So he said, this is the part where I'm going to analyze the most, as he says, first of all, he needs the right structure behind him to be able to provide the moments of quality and winning games, whether it's assists, goals, dribbles, or whatever it is. Exactly. Go and watch the Nicolas Pepe highlights from last season, all his goals and assists on YouTube. There's a couple of videos. All of his goals were on the counter attack. He had acres of space to run into. That is when Nicolas Pepe is at his best, because a lot of the times in the Premier League, the way that we play a sort of, well, not so much now, but we play a very uninspiring and lacking of dynamic in the midfield, because we're not really passing the ball with any great intent. It was a lot of backwards, sideways. We were doing a lot of the same sort of, passes in the middle, and then they play it back out, and then we'd often take it back to the centre backs, and they would play it out wide again. It was just a constant cycle. We weren't really creating any chances. The goals that would come would be probably Aubameyang being in the right place, right time, being the clutch player that he is, getting the goals for us, particularly this season. But Nicolas Pepe does not have that space because of how sort of stagnant we are, and we're very still in the midfield. He doesn't have that space to run in behind players because the passes that the players are making is not allowing him to get the most out of his game. Lille often would break down the wing. I can't remember the name of their defensive midfielder, but he would win a lot of tackles, and he would spray it out wide. Nicolas Pepe was on the right-hand side, and he'd have the ability to do a few step overs. He'd cut in. He scored a couple of very nice finishes from outside the box as well. You can see that there is a player there. The way that he turned Luke Shaw all day long against Man United, absolutely rinsed him. You can see that there is world-class ability there. I genuinely believe that Nicolas Pepe next season is going to be considered, at the end of the year, a world-class player. If Arteta is able to get the best out of him, Emery was not able to do so. And I think this is positive because these winter breaks that a lot of these clubs have had, we now can see that Arteta has identified some problems within the squad and some issues that need to be rectified. Getting the best out of your best attacking players, particularly when we're lacking goals at the moment, indicates to me that this was a problem that Arteta has been able to see since he's come in, and he's addressed it in the winter break. Although he doesn't specifically mention that they have changed the structure, it sort of indicates to me that if he's looking to get the most out of him, I think he may be looking to change the structure. And not just for him. I think generally speaking, the way that we attack, we're doing it for 20, 30 minutes of the game. We're attacking quite well. Still don't think we're shooting enough. We're not finding ourselves in the right positions most of the time where we have clear goal scoring opportunities. But let's be real, there has been moments in the last couple of games or so, where maybe last 3 to 5 games, where the 20, 30 minutes of the game, we are all over teams. The game against Crystal Palace, the first 20 minutes, we were looking very attacking. Times I thought we looked like the Arsenal of old in those games. So it's either he's trying to allow the players to understand it more so we can get greater consistency throughout games. However, that will come with fitness. Or has he identified that this group of players cannot play his system just yet, and he's having to change things slightly to get the best out of these players? Only time will tell, and that's why this Newcastle game is going to be such an interesting game. I've done a preview on that, by the way, guys. Go and check that out. I think that was 2 videos ago or so. But I just think it's a crucial game for us, and I think the fact that Arteta is identifying this about Nicolas Pepe is showing that Arteta knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's saying all the right things, and talk is cheap at the end of the day, but I am confident that with the things that the players are saying recently, particularly over the last week, with the confidence they have in Arteta, and look, don't get me wrong, players are never going to badmouth their manager whilst they're at the club, but it's the way that they're speaking about him and the sort of detail that they're giving and the enthusiasm. Because when players were probably asked about Emery, they just say the same substandard response. He's a great manager, gets the most out of players, and pretty much leave it at that. But these players are sort of, in a way, out of their way, elaborating on Arteta because they feel a lot more passionate about the passionate manager that he is, and they genuinely believe that he has a lot of ability, and the fact that he's a young manager but still has that experience, that still has that ability, shows that experience, not necessarily all the time, isn't the main reason why you have to be a good manager. And I mean, what David Luiz said the other day in particular, saying that he's one of the best managers he's worked at, pretty much is massive credit to Arteta in that respect. So I'll keep going on about this article. So he's talking about sort of about having a clearer picture. So he says afterwards he needs to have a clearer picture on things that are happening on the pitch, why they are happening, and how can he solve them. I think he's in the process of doing that. I agree. I think what he needs to do as well is Nicolas Pepe needs to find the right times when to take on a player and when not to. Because I think what Pepe does is that he might take a player on, lose the ball in the first 10. How he will try and rectify that is he will keep taking players on. And I like that about him. I like how he's willing to take games by the scruff of the neck, and you can tell he's a player that really wants to take responsibility in clutch situations in his squad. But he does sort of need to understand how we play a bit more. Maybe that comment there indicates that He isn't looking to change the system, as I was talking about before. But obviously we will see about that. Arteta said there is a consistency of the games as well. He hasn't played in 12 or 15 games in a row, which is a massive thing for a player in those positions, which are more difficult on the pitch to make an impact in games. He was in France and was one of the biggest stars in the league. He made an incredible year. He comes here and a lot of people didn't even know him. You paid that price tag. So for him to put his brain into this picture and solve all this is not easy, and he's a really young player. Arteta says all the right things. I will give him that. He says pretty much exactly what I want to hear. He's honest in press conferences, but ultimately that doesn't get results. But from what the players are saying about him and the ideas that Arteta is looking to implement, and obviously, as I said, the players' support, it shows that Arsenal are genuinely in the right direction. But in respect specifically to this Nicolas Pepe video, it's a very interesting comment, but a very encouraging comment as well, because that is exactly what I've been thinking for a long time. We need to play to his strengths. We need to get him running onto balls, taking on players, getting in those positions where he can cut back, getting in those positions where he can cut in and score. We've seen it not that much this season. Yes, we saw it, 2 free kick goals. We saw it against West Ham. We saw it against United as well. But I believe that he will come good. And as Arteta said before, there is a long list of players. I will get it up. If you go through the top list of players that have come to this country, how disappointing they were for the first 10 to 12 months, then how incredible they were for the next 5 years, I think we could have a massive list. Indicates that he has time to, time to still come good. So it's pretty much all I have time for today, guys. Just wanted to do a video on that. Very encouraging signs from Arteta and what he's saying and how he can get the most out of Pepe. Please go check out some of my other videos, guys. Thank you for watching.